if you're left with this idea of inventing something new, the old playbook, the old muscle memory won't work anymore. You got to be more creative than your taco salad. And you can't just find other examples floating out in the abyss to port exactly over to your business. What do you need a healthy dose of at your business? Creativity. Creative matters. And I was so happy when we finally came to this conclusion, I did a little happy dance. I'm not going to do it on stage. If you meet me afterwards, after Kevin Spacey's talk, maybe we'll have a couple beers and I'll show you the happy dance. But for now, my favorite comic of all time, Calvin and Hobbes. So this is great. Good conclusion to come to. We now know we have to be more creative. We have to mix it up. I have to be a better chef in the kitchen and create other things. However, I have to do it sustainably. In HubSpot, we had a whole team creating content when I was there. So we have to figure out how do we do this on an ongoing basis, because doing one piece here and there or waiting for the muse to strike, that's not how businesses work. That's not how customers work. So to come up with this framework, I went to a quote by Ev Williams. So Ev is the founder of all these great companies that we know and love in marketing today. And Ev says that the way to innovate is to take a human desire, preferably one that's been around for a while, and to identify the desire, line up all the steps that people have to take to fulfill that desire, and use modern tech to remove those steps. I thought that was powerful stuff. And if you think about it in terms of marketing and content marketing specifically, and B2B even more specifically, you can just substitute a couple of words here, and it makes sense for our world. You can use creative content to take out steps. Ev is talking about building products. This is actually an interview he did about what is it to build a billion-dollar tech company. He said that. So he's talking about products. I'm talking about content. But shouldn't the two always align? If somebody consumes a piece of content, aren't you setting them on the buyer's journey to buying your product eventually? So if you really think about how nice and neat that works, talking about modern tech products, or any product, I would argue, and creative content, the conclusion you're left with is something like this, that great B2B content marketing is just solving the same problem that your product solves. You're doing it with a different medium. Maybe you're even doing it less well, and I'd argue that's actually a good thing, and I'll get into that. But you're solving the same problem. I work with startups all the time, and they're like, oh, we're going to launch a blog, it's going to look like Pinterest, or we're going to have parallax scrolling, all these different design flourishes, and blah, 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 blah. And I have to say to them, what is the problem that you're trying to solve as a startup? Because startups often know that they're out to solve a problem. That's how they found themselves. And they can articulate that. And I'm like, great. If you launch a content marketing strategy, solve that same problem with your content. Great B2B content marketing is just solving the same problem that your product solves. So here's how this might work. So let's say you sold analytics software, and your buyer, who's on the left here, has to pitch her boss using data. And you know that your product is the best solution ever to go through all the steps that this person needs to present something using data and be analytical. The buyer's not ready there. The buyer's not there yet. The buyer's not ready. So you can start to use creative content to actually remove steps. Here's what an ebook does. Puts up a big red sign that says, hold on, before you get to all these steps, which, and by the way, your deadline's probably not changing to complete these steps, read this huge thing that saves you not time or money. And you'll be able to fish better, right? So it's still valuable, but you haven't actually removed these steps. So if that's the rule we're going to go on, you haven't removed any steps, you've added a great big one. So if we're in the business of removing steps, because that's what Ev Williams told us to do, you can create something like this, a deck of relevant data. You've curated it or done your own research. Give that away. Remove the first step. Go find data. Well, you can do that in the product. This buyer's not there yet. Here's a deck of relevant data that we curated or researched on our own. One step down. And you can keep doing this. You can say, here's a reporting template spreadsheet. You have to churn out charts and graphs and maybe send a spreadsheet. Well, we pre-designed it. You can just upload your brand colors, put in your data. Here come the charts because we did the formulas for you. You can remove a third step. Here's a presentation template. Here's how to pitch your boss well. The story you need to tell, the order you need to put it in, substitute your brand colors, use the charts from the data that we already gave you. And now this person is left with just 2 steps that they move through. And think of how nice and neat this lines up when moving somebody through the buyer's journey to get them to buy your product. So if they're solving a problem, and it's the problem that you also solve as a company, if they're on their own, you're adding no usefulness, no help whatsoever. Right? They haven't discovered you, or you're not creating content yet. You can publish some thought leadership, and in my mind, that sounds like, inspirational content or things that are strongly opinion. And I think those things, like why everything you're publishing on Twitter is wrong, or what is the future of marketing, those things help people think or feel the right way. So you're getting them kind of over to the way your company or you think, and that's important, but it's not as helpful as you can be to solve a problem, to remove steps. So you can create educational content. I think we're all bought into that, or hopefully we are by now, especially in B2B. That adds a lot of value. That's very helpful. So this educational content can maybe start to help them, again, teach them to fish, still not removing steps. So I think even more useful today, in a sea of noise when everyone's kind of being a taco salad chef, is to do these templates and other utilities. I'll show you a bunch of examples in a little bit.